This is episode 252 of the Super League pod, and if you're after people reading out England squad lists, you've come to the right place. Of course, we pass comment on them too, helped by your fan views. You'll also hear about a Minx front end, a Great Dane's rear end, and an exclusive on just how many missed calls means your fine is only nominal. We've got news, stats, scores, those all-important fan match reviews, so get yourself strapped in, because it's SLP time. Hello listeners, welcome along to episode 252 of the Super League pod. We've got a couple of happy hosts this week. You've got myself, Mark, and we're joined from the from Hull with Sarah. Welcome along, Sarah.
Hi, good to be back.
Let's before we go any further, do you want to tell our wonderful listeners about our wonderful sponsor?
Yes. There's a lot of wonderful around. So our wonderful sponsor this week is Rob's Toy Shop. So you can find a wide range of toys, gifts, Rugby League birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop. And on any orders over £5, you can earn 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers if you put SLP discount at checkout.
Yep, keep an eye out on our social media posts for the episode, and we'll put a link on there to our blog where you can access a link to Rob's Toy Shop and instructions on how to get your discounts and details of all our other partners as well. Right, Sarah, we're full on England squads in the news. We've got lots of England squads to talk about. Of course, there's more injuries to discuss too. We've got fan reviews from the weekend with plenty on the Super League games. Actually, tons on one of the games that wasn't on TV. Your Hull FC game, actually, so that's great. A few from the rest of the other results as well. We'll make some guesses for round 7 and the Cup. Super League clubs enter the Cup this week, and we'll let you all know as well when the Brits might be playing as the NRL season starts. But we want to give a shout out to get things going before we get into the news, and an update from Josh Moole on his dad. So Josh, big Leeds Rhinos fan who's been heavy presence on the show in the last year or so. You might have remembered a few weeks ago we mentioned about how his dad had unfortunately had a stroke and was in hospital. Well, Josh has sent us an update, and it's a positive one. He said, "My dad came out of hospital last week. He has been left with severe weakness to his right side and a speech impairment, but he's dealing with this really well, and with physiotherapy, the improvement in him is obvious compared to his initial admission. During his time in the hospital, which has been a very upsetting and distressing time for him and for Josh, Josh said he would like to express his gratitude to the people from the SLP family that extended their well wishes and support. Josh's dad's now out of hospital and attending games. So if you see, Josh has said, if you see himself or his dad at events, that they're looking forward to seeing everyone throughout the season. And he says, if you do see them, please say hello. And he's mentioned that his dad's brain still works just fine. It's just it takes a little while sometimes for it to come out. So sometimes bear with them. But yeah, you can't. It's hard to miss Josh and his dad, because they're the Rhinos guys in every disabled area that you go to for any event during the season. And he'll have a big beaming smile on his face, Josh, because I've never seen him not grinning.
I've not met Josh. I tried to arrange to meet him because he was at Wakefield, but he didn't come back to me.
Well, you'll definitely, I think, get the opportunity at the Magic weekend, and Josh will be there with his...
We're not there.
What? Bombshell.
Sorry.
Oh, well, then there'll be lots of other opportunities to meet Josh and his dad, and it's great to hear that his dad's out of hospital, isn't it? And we definitely wish
really
him
good news.
All the best as he continues his recovery. So thanks to Josh for that update. It's really nice to hear as well that the wider SLP family are supporting each other. It's always rewarding to think, Sarah, isn't it, that we kind of play a part in a bigger community, really, around the show.
It is, yeah. And also a shout out, because I think Janet might be listening for the first time, and she's a Hull fan. So hi, Janet, if you're listening.
Welcome along, Janet. And actually, Sarah, that leads us on to the other standard part of the agenda when you're on the show, and that's to tell us how our young friends at the Might and Warriors juniors, are we under 11s now?
Under 11s, yeah.
Under 11s. How Joshua and his teammates are getting on?
Well, unfortunately, their match on Sunday, first match of the season, was cancelled because the opposition couldn't raise a team. So their first match of the season will be this Sunday coming. So we'll wait and see how they go, really.
The boys got to go as sort of special guests, as it were, community club guests to a Hull FC game there recently. So did Joshua enjoy that experience?
Guard of honour for the Catalan match. So he enjoyed being there with his teammates.
Excellent stuff. Well, I'm sure in one day in the future it'll be him walking out through the Guard of Honour rather than giving it. So let's hope that that's the case. If he can get some fixtures on.
Indeed.
Brilliant. Well, we'll look forward to an update as the season properly gets underway when you're next on the show. And we'll now move along to... Are you ready to list loads of names? Because that's what's coming up, Sarah, as we get into
Can't
news
wait.
for around the world of rugby league.
Okay, so in the news, we'll start off with the England news. Firstly, Gareth Widdop has been left out of a 31-man list of players invited to a gathering with New England head coach Sean Wayne later this month. He's one of several notable absentees, with Jake Connor and Ryan Hall also not included. There's no space either for Australians Jackson Hastings and Blake Austin, who both featured on the Great Britain tour. Among the 31 players are Leeds young centre Harry Newman and Wigan winger Dom Manfredi, as he returned to action last month. Paul McShane and Josh Griffin, who have both been touted for call-ups, have earned a place on Wayne's watch list, who will get together on March 23rd at Old Trafford. Mike Cooper, Liam Farrell and Zach Hardacre are also named, despite not being in last year's performance squad. Meanwhile, 4 players who featured for England Knights last year are included, with Niall Evalds, Josh Jones, Manfredi and Newman all included. From the NRL, John Bateman, Josh Hodgson, Ryan Sutton, Elliot Whitehead, George Williams, Tom Burgess, James Graham and Callum Watkins are also included on a separate list. So the England squad invitees.
Shall we rotate? You do the first club and then I'll do the second club. And then we'll...
So from Warrington, Josh Charnley, Darryl Clark, Mike Cooper, Ben Curry, Chris Hill, Jack Hughes, Joe Philbin, Stephen Ratchford.
Who'd have thought they'd have that many when they're meant to be in crisis? From St Helens, Johnny Lomax, Tommy Makinson, Mark Percival, James Roby, Luke Thompson and Alex Walmsley.
From Wigan, Liam Farrell, Oliver Gildart, Zach Hardacre and Dom Manfredi.
From Hull FC, we've got Josh Griffin, Josh Jones and Scott Taylor.
Castleford have Paul McShane and Liam Watts.
2 Leeds Rhinos in the squad, Luke Gale and Harry Newman.
Also 2 Salford players, Niall Evalds and Dan Sargentson.
Tom Johnston and Reece Lynn get in from Wakefield Trinity.
Yep, our friend Jermaine McGilvray from Huddersfield.
And then Sam Tompkins from the Catalans Dragons. We did get some fan listener feedback, so I'll run through those. We got Lee Whitnell, who said, really pleased to see some of the players that were overlooked or snubbed by Bennett back in the England fold. Hill shouldn't be anywhere near the squad, and Sargentson's selection smells of nepotism, but otherwise there's a lot to like. However, as this is just a chance to say you're in my thoughts, snubbing NRL tested halfbacks Widdop and Hastings is strange. Widdop's dip in form is due to his time out injured. When he got his injury at the end of the 2018 season, he was the best 6 in the world. He could easily regain that form over this season if he stays fit. That's optimism from a Wire fan.
I was going to say, I think that's slight,
It's always their year, so that's how they think about it for the halfbacks as well.
Glasses getting in there.
It goes on to say, Hastings' failure with Great Britain was more to do with Bennett's tactics than Hastings' ability. We're light in the halves, and Lomax and Gale have both struggled at the highest level previously. Obviously, Williams should be coming in too, but it just feels strange to leave them out, them meaning Widdop and Hastings. And then we're going to piss the league, Fat Boy Rob. says, it's a good squad that looks like it's actually picked on form. I'm glad Tompkins and Hardacre are back in. On the field, they are our best fullbacks. It's good Macca is finally being rewarded, although he needs to prove himself against a Roby or a Clark before he can claim the top spot. I'm also glad that Madden Steele, Donny Richardson and Jake Truman are in the night squad, which we'll talk about in a little while. They are not ready for the seniors, and I'd rather they actually play. So there's two headlines, isn't there, really, I suppose, from this. The Aussies aren't included in Hastings and Austin, and also the big names that came back from the NRL or came in from the NRL, Widdop and George Burgess, who hasn't been mentioned anywhere, but they're not included. And I suppose there's a third sneaky headline in there. There's no Sean O'Loughlin, who was still the captain of England last time I checked. So obviously he hasn't announced his international retirement as of yet, but it seems like he's...
Maybe Sean Wayne has.
He's not in his best buddy Sean Wayne's thoughts. I sort of suspect he'll be in the kind of staff rather than the playing group for Sean Wayne's England squad, but that's my anticipation. But what do you make, first of all, of the lack of inclusion of the Australian-born players who now cannot play for anyone other than Great Britain and England?
I think it's a great call. I think we want, British-born players playing for Britain.
So you go along with what Sean Wayne says, I suppose, that those players, there's still a door open for them, but they have to be significantly outperforming the sort of homegrown counterparts in their positions. So he'd have to outperform Lomax, he'd have to outperform Williams, he'd have to outperform Gale, sort of thing. Yeah,
and I do feel a bit for them that this rule's now being introduced about, that they can't play for anyone else, because it kind of feels a bit backwards do you know what I mean? It's like, well, you've made your choice, and that's
It's specifically harsh on those two blokes, isn't it, really?
Yeah, whereas I think you could say from now on, rather than retrospectively applying a rule.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that either of them would actually get in the Australian team, but
no,
as a as an argument, I just think it's a bit wrong. But yeah, I'm behind Sean Wayne on that one.
The Gareth Widdop thing, I kind of get Lee's point, which would have been a point I'd say as well. If they're just bringing a group of people together who might have a shot at being in his Ashes squad at the end of the year, it does seem a bit weird that someone who's been such a consistent performer at the international level in the past, not performing great at the moment, but it's picked other people who are injured, like, Gildart, Percival, there was someone else
Liam
in there.
Watts is injured, isn't he?
Yeah, Liam Watts, although his injury apparently isn't as bad as first feared. Jack Hughes is injured. It's picked a few people that aren't necessarily, firing on all cylinders. So it's not all on form. I'm delighted that Liam Farrell's back in the squad. Obviously, everyone who listens will know that. How do you feel about Josh Griffin? Because I think he probably would have been a contender last year if he hadn't picked up an injury midway through the year. Yeah,
to be honest, he's picked up exactly where he left off, if not better this year. I think, particularly him and Jones have been outstanding this year. So I'm really pleased.
Other than the headline names, I'm struggling to find any real notable omissions from the squad that really I feel, are better than the names in the squad. So I think from that point of view, it's a big positive start for Sean Wayne's selections. I think he's got the tone of his selections right, like you were talking about, for what the fans want, or a large amount of the fans want, and he seems to have covered all bases as well with the selections he's picked. There's no real weak areas, is there? No, it does seem a well-rounded set of players. So So 32 players have been invited by England Knights coach Paul Anderson to attend a similar gathering at the same time ahead of the 2020 international calendar. Anderson and England head coach Sean Wayne will get together on March the 23rd, bringing both squads together for an initial gathering at Old Trafford to discuss plans for the upcoming year. Several new players have been included by Anderson, including Warrington's Matty Ashton after his impressive start, some would say, to life at the Wolves. Wigan's young forward Ethan Havard is also involved. I don't know where things like Ethan Havard and Mikolaj Ilechki and Masabashi Matongo fit, because they're not British born, but obviously they're British brought through. While Huddersfield's Adam O'Brien is also included in the squad. So let's do the same thing with the rotation. So the team with the most